What's up, y'all? Anderson here to talk about the mixed 4x1, which World Athletics just announced is going to be added to the World Relays in 2025. Now, we had already seen it announced for the 2026 World Athletics Ultimate Championships. I think that's the name, right? Someone can cross-check me in the comments, but very recently they said it's now going to be added to the World Relays. In 2025, that's going to be going down in Guangzhou, China. That's going to be part of a string of meets happening in China during the late part of the indoor season and early part of the outdoor season. You have the World Indoor Championships in Nanjing. You have the Suzhou as well as the Ximen Diamond League. And then you also have the World Relays in Guangzhou, China. Check out the video that I did kind of breaking down the 2025 track and field calendar. So many meets on the calendar. These Chinese meets are one of them. But at the World Relays in Guangzhou, which is going to serve as a qualifier for the World Championships in Tokyo later on in September, the mixed relay 4x1 is a very, very different event, completely different than, anything that we've even seen from mixed events that we have seen. Now, a little bit of history. Of course, we know that the mixed 4x4 has been part of the World Championships and the Olympic Games for a few years now. The first time it was actually implemented was 2019 at the Doha World Championships. Then we did see it at the Tokyo Olympic Games and at every single global championships after that. Prior to then, I think the famous clip was, who is it? Michael Cherry from the United States. He's like running down Justyna Swierty-Ercetic. I think he's running her down, from Poland, which is like this crazy clip of a man running down a woman. Since then, they've actually changed things up where every country has to run the same legs, right? Man, woman, or it could be vice versa. Someone could fact check me. But yeah, so they just didn't want those optics, I think. Now, even before then, in 2019 at the World Relays in Yokohama, Japan, we did see not only the mixed 4x4, we also saw a mixed shuttle hurdle race, and then we also saw a mixed 2x2x4. So World Athletics was kind of playing with these mixed events at the World Relays. I don't think many people thought it would actually be added to the schedule permanently. I don't even remember if 2019 in Doha was a permanent addition to the World Championships, but then it eventually did come into fruition as we see now. We have never seen a mixed 4x1 at either a World Relays, a World Championships, or an Olympic Games yet. And Guangzhou 2025 is going to be the first time that we actually see top professional athletes competing in the mixed 4x1, at least at a major championship or a major competition. The one time that at least I remember that's very notable for most people is early in 2017. We did see a team of Asafa Powell, Usain Bolt, Jenna Prandini, and Jenna Matarmo. They competed in a mixed 4x1 all the way down in Australia. And this, I forget what the competition was. It was like some Nitro meet or something like that. And they competed in a mixed 4x1. And it was that exact order. Asafa Powell passing to Usain Bolt, passing to Jenna Prandini, passing to Jenna Matarmo. Now, this was a really kind of like fun competition. I don't think anyone took that very seriously. It was really cool to see Usain Bolt in his final year coming off his triple, right? His third sprint triple at the Olympic Games in Rio. You had Jenna Prandini, you had Tarmo, both of them were still relatively young and still developing. You had Asafa Powell. He was still, he was kind of in the second half of his career, but still competing. So it was kind of like a fun, entertaining thing. And this was in like, again, March or April, very early in the season. So it was nothing too serious. But now we're actually going to see this come into fruition where these athletes are going to be competing from the same country. They're going to be competing eventually, going into 2026 to actually earn a spot at a World Championships, this case, World Ultimate Championships. And I don't know, it's going to be an interesting dynamic to see how something like this kind of plays out. Now, on the surface, this has brought about maybe mixed emotions and mixed responses from the community, where some people have been extremely excited because we've come up with these like hypothetical, mixed 4x1s where Jamaica, if you had someone like, Sharika Jackson, Elaine Thompson-Herah, and then you had like Usain Bolt and Johan Blake, hypothetical or something like that. Throw in, Asafa Powell, throw in, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price, mix and match, whatever it is. For the United States, with some current athletes, you have like Christian Coleman and Noah Lyles along with, Sha'Carri Richardson and Gabby Thomas or something like that, to be able to create these hypothetical mixed 4x1s that could produce, I don't know, we don't even know what times it would actually produce, but it could be some really, really fun stuff. But then on the flip side, some people have not been as receptive to this kind of development because it's been seen as a little too gimmicky. Again, remember in 2019 at the World Relays when I said that they had a mixed shuttle hurdle, they had a mixed 4x4, and they had a mixed 2x2x4 all those were sometimes to a degree kind of seen as gimmicky. Going back to that race where, you know, Michael Cherry in the mixed 4x4 is running down, you know, Swiatek Irsatik from Poland, you know, that was kind of seen as like, what is going on? That's one of the most viral clips probably in track and field to this day. So people do see innovation, quote unquote, innovations like these as a little gimmicky and not as, you know, serious in the tradition of the sport and like how things should be going. I'm gonna be honest, I probably land a little bit in the middle where I think it's interesting. It's pretty cool to be able to see these really, you know, different events, especially the mixed events. I've warmed up to the mixed 4x4. I don't like the mixed 4x4 that much because it's kind of pushed the schedule. It's prevented, you know, 400, 200 doubles from happening. We've seen the, you know, issues with the women's 400 final occurring like the day before the 4x4 final or something like that. So there's been some issues scheduling wise, but I think the event is actually pretty cool. But then on the flip side, you know, I don't know, I find it like weird where it seems like they're just trying to force things onto us to say like, okay, this is going to be how we capture new fans and this is going to be how we innovate the sport, when I don't know if they have like true data to say that mixed relays are actually bringing in new fans and are actually bringing in, you know, new viewers to the sport. Who knows? Maybe World Athletics has other data that we just have not seen, but it is what it is. I'm a little bit in the middle. But one of the big things that I think people are kind of, you know, questioning is if it's going to be possible for these teams to, you know, really effectively pass the baton, because you're going to have either, I don't know what the formats may be, if you have to go man, woman, or if like the meet that we had in Australia in 2017, where it's 2 men, then passing off to 2 women, that's going to bring an interesting dynamic on if the man is coming in too fast, will the woman be able to, you know, actually be able to get out fast enough? Or vice versa, if you have a woman handing off to a man, will the man go out way too fast and the woman won't be able to catch up? I don't know. I think that's where a lot of like questions have been arising, at least in terms of discussions that I've been having and things that I've been seeing. Now, on the surface, I think that shouldn't be too much of an issue, regardless of how it actually works. One thing that came to mind and someone brought up to me was, look at what high school athletes do. Very frequently, you'll have high school teams where an athlete, let's just stick on the men's side for a second, where you have an athlete, they may be able to run like, I don't know, 10.5 seconds. And then you may have another athlete on that same relay who's only able to run like 11 or 11.5, right? So a big discrepancy in terms of the times that they're able to run. That I think does hold true when you're talking about men over to women. For example, let's say you have, you know, Gabby Thomas handing off to Noah Lyles, where Gabby Thomas, I think her best is 11 seconds flat. Noah Lyles, his best is 9.7. So you're talking about a 1+ second difference. So yes, Noah Lyles may get out fast, but they'll be able to adjust, again, just like high schools do. Yes, it's not going to be the most efficient, but I don't think the goal here is to run as fast as possible. Sure, yes, they want to run as fast as possible to be able to win, but I think the ultimate goal is to be able to be successful, to put on a show, to be able to, you know, just represent for their country, do all that kind of, you know, basic stuff that we would think about when talking about relays and when talking about some of the best athletes in the world. Vice versa, I think for women, if you're talking about women who are running, you know, in high school, some women are running 11.5s or a little bit faster. They're on teams with women who are running 12+ seconds on those relays, but they're still able to adjust and make those handoffs. Yes, this is professional athletes, this is high quality, this is top speeds, all that stuff. But I think for the most part, we won't see as much carnage as we might think. But who knows? We might actually see some carnage. And this is where I actually do think that the appeal of a mixed 4x1 does bring some intrigue to the sport because of what we already see when talking about the 4x1s. I know that a lot of us love to, and the community in general, love to kind of talk about how the United States, as an example, the men keep dropping the baton, they can't get it around, they can't pass a stick, etc., etc. I feel like there's a part of me that thinks that's actually a little bit intriguing. That actually creates a really interesting storyline that people love to hang on to. If things were just going as smoothly as possible and people were just winning medals and no one was dropping the baton and everyone was passing perfectly, I don't know if that would be as intriguing and we wouldn't have some of the storylines and the interest in the 4x1 that we do see to this day. At least for the United States, where every single year going into the Olympic Games, the storyline is always, can the United States pass the baton? Can the United States, pass inside the zone? Can the United States not drop the baton? Can they win gold? Can they get on the podium, etc., etc.? That's always a story. At the end of the day, that creates a lot of interest. One of my highest viewed videos from this past year was just breaking down the relays, right? Who is going to run on the 4x1s at the Olympic Games. People love to kind of talk about the intrigue of like, ooh, are they going to be able to do it? Are they going to be able to win gold? Are they going to drop the baton? That actually creates some interesting storylines that really does captivate us a little bit. On the flip side, when we talk about countries that do pass the baton pretty efficiently, a country like Canada, that also does bring some intrigue because it's like, okay, we know that they're able to pass the baton, but are they going to be fast enough as a collective to be able to beat out some of the other teams, right? We know that on paper, countries like Canada is pretty strong, but Canada or Japan or, you know, some of these other nations, they don't have the fastest foot speed, but because they're able to pass efficiently, that brings some intrigue. That adds to the story of what's actually going to happen in this relay race, while actually looking at the United States and saying, oh, wow, are they going to be able to pass the baton? I do think that kind of pulls at our interest and pulls at our intrigue of like what is going to happen, that mystery. And I do think that mixed 4x1 kind of is tapping into that same idea of what is actually going to happen. If we do see, you know, Christian Coleman handing off to Sha'Carri Richardson, handing off to Noah Lyles, like what is that race going to look like, right? If we do see, you know, who else? Sharika Jackson handing off to Oblique Seville, like what is that going to look like? Those kind of storylines I think are very compelling for us as fans because there's so much unknown and it allows us to kind of fill in the void of what might happen. That I think is pretty appealing about the mixed 4x1. Whether or not, you know, I truly think it's an event that should be taken as seriously as, you know, World Athletics may want us to. I think there's a reason that they're debuting it at the World Relays. It's not going to be at the World Championships in 2025. And then also at the World Ultimate Championships. Haven't said if it's going to be at the 2027 World Championships or the Olympic Games. I do suspect, depending on how things progress, we might see it, you know, go down the same path as the mixed 4x4, where eventually it'll be added to the World Championships, added to the Olympic Games, if things do go well. But if we see a whole bunch of batons dropped, I don't know. They may just like completely cut it out. But just a couple ideas, couple thoughts on that mixed 4x1. Again, I'm a little bit in the middle when we're talking about these mixed events, 4x4, 4x1. I don't know. It's interesting. I more have issues with the schedule versus, you know, the actual, you know, event in itself. I would hate for the mixed 4x1 to be added to the World Championships. And then you see athletes like, you know, in the 100 and the 200 not being able to double, right? That would be terrible, similar to like is happening in the 400 where certain 400 athletes just can't double, can't do 4-2 doubles, or it's conflicting with the actual 4x4. If this ends up conflicting with the schedule, messing up the 4x1, I don't know, that's not going to be a good look. But let me know what you think about the mixed 4x1. Again, it's going to be debuting at the Guangzhou World Relays in 2025, going down May 10th to May 11th in Guangzhou, China. Do you think that this is going to be a positive addition to, you know, the World Relays? Do you think that it should be eventually added to World Championships, or do we still have to wait and see? And what do you think about that kind of technical aspect? Do you think, you know, men and women handing the baton off to each other are going to cause a lot of issues, or do you think that these athletes are going to be able to adjust? Let me know what you think. Always appreciate y'all. Thanks for watching.